Ayan, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Magandang hapon Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Para po sa ating mga taga-pakinig o nanonood sa atin sa hapon na ito, mayapagat po po sa mga taga Pampanga na ating mga kapatid, na Imbaga Malem sa ating mga kapatid na Ilocano, Masantos Ngangarem sa ating mga taga-Pangasinan, at marahay na hapon sa ating mga kapatid na taga-Bicol. Sa Visayas naman po, maayong hapon, maupay nga kulop, maayong ugto. At sa ating mga kapatid sa Mindanao, assalamualaikum and buenas tardes. Oops! Baka may mga nanonood sa ating foreigner dyan. Good afternoon po. And annyeonghaseyo, salamat siyang wuhaw. And naku, welcome po talaga dito sa ating regular na mga tagapakinig na nandito sa ating Zoom. At ang mga nanonood rin ng ating mga naka-post na mga SDG videos po natin na nasa YouTube. Magandang hapon po uli at mabuhay po tayong lahat. Welcome sa ating The Filipino Sustainable Goals or SDG Action Hour. Ito po yung ating lingguhang tuwing Biyernes na kamustahan, alas 3:30 ng hapon hanggang alas 5. Kumustahan po ito para sa maganda, maayos, mabuti at makabuluhang kinabukasan ng ating bansa at ng ating ding mga kababayan. At ito po yung kumustahan talaga na hitik na sa talakayan ng mga usapang talaga naman pong napapanahon. At alam nyo, sa hapon na ito, very exciting, interesting na naman na ating topic kasi po, alam naman natin dito sa Pilipinas, talagang natural phenomenon na yung bumabaha sa bawat lugar ng Pilipinas, no? Kaya po ngayon, pag-uusapan natin yung topic na ang pamagat ay Anatomy of Flood Disaster, Tale of Talisay and Cagayan de Oro City. Sa wikang Pilipino, nako, ni-research ko to Sir Glenn. Sa wikang Pilipino, dalub katawan ng sakunang dulot ng baha. Mga aral mula sa karanasan ng Talisay at bayan ng Cagayan de Oro. Ayan, Tagalog na Tagalog. Tayo pong mga nandito sa Manila, parang normal na talaga yung baha. Pero sige, pakinggan natin, ano ba yung mga kwento ng mga pagbabaha dyan sa Talisay at sa Cagayan de Oro. Talagang dapat din nating malaman yan, no? So sa hapong ito, maririnig natin ang mga kwentong ito sa pamamagitan ng ating panauhin na alam ko taga Mindanao din, di ba, sir? Taga Cagayan de Oro ka, di ba? At saka itong guest natin, mainstay ito ng Future Earth. One of the core members of the Future Earth. Nako, nakita natin sa video kanina, isa siya sa mga nagsalita kanina, no? Napakapalad po natin kasi ang atin pong panauhin sa hapong ito ay isang sikat na hydrologist. Nako, ano ba yung hydrologist? Yan yung dalubhasa o eksperto sa usapin ng katubigan. Di ba? Siya po ay isang academician ng National Academy of Science and Technology ng Pilipinas. Siya din po ay Professor Emeritus ng University of the Philippines Institute of Civil Engineering and a Research Fellow of the University of the Philippines National Hydraulic Research Center. Hindi lang po yan, meron pa akong i-chika sa inyo. Napaka-talented po nitong ating guest. Alam nyo, pag hindi po siya nag-iisip ng tungkol sa katubigan, siya po ay tumutugtog ng saxophone at napakagaling po. Ayan, naku, wag na natin pahabain to. Pakinggan na po natin ang presentation ng ating talaga pong napakagaling na resource speaker for this afternoon. Mga kakababayan, atin pong salubungin ng masigabong palakpakan ang ating kapita-pitagang panauhin sa hapong ito, Academician Dr. Guillermo Glenn Tabios III. Yes, sir. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Dada. That's a very generous introduction. So,
Mainstay eh.
yeah, that's right. I mean, the video that was shown, panahon pa ng COVID yun, no? Kaya we were kind of not confined during that time. So anyway. So let me share my presentation. First of all, saan na yan? Ito pala. So if you notice yung flyer nito, I just pick it up because I thought I like the way it was done. So that's a picture like about 3 years ago or so. So again, as mentioned by Dada, ano yan, the anatomy, I forgot na in Tagalog.
Ano yan, sir? Dalub katawan. Yan pala yung
Okay.
anatomy sa Pilipino.
Pero the way that my definition is the structure and inner workings of this flood disaster. So yun and then of course the tail is because well I'm gonna talk about the narrative behind this flood disasters. It's really, sometimes they think a tale is a fictitious, but it can really be true na story about it. And of course, in this case, I try to dig up some of the narrative behind paano nangyari yan. So that makes it, I think, interesting yung tale. Of course, there's a nice title about novel by Charles Dickens, Tale of Two Cities. So ito, Tale of Two Cities, but in a different context. So first, I'm gonna talk about Talisay City, which bago lang nagkaroon ng big typhoon, Tino. And then later, then I also would like to talk about Cagayan de Oro during the typhoon Sendong, which happened 2011. So Talisay City, which is in Cebu, this during typhoon Tino. I don't know how other people pronounce this, but in Bisaya, we call yung mga Tino, we call it Tino rather than Tino. So this happened like 2 days event. But a few days before that, there were rains in typhoon in other parts of the country influenced by Tino. So I think this is one of the kind of the sort of iconic picture of the Talisay City flood devastation during that typhoon Tino. If you can see, you have the mountains on the background on the left-hand side picture. So up there is what we call the Mananga River Basin. It's about 85 square kilometers, and then it goes down to the city, and you can see how the water essentially overflowed from the river and then cascading or obliterating some of these houses or a lot of these houses. And you can see here, of course, that's already the aftermath, and then this is during the typhoon and so on. So first of all, the Typhoon Tino rainfall was quite big, but there were still bigger rainfall historically that happened in that area. So I'm just giving a perspective in a sense of from the point of view of rainfall. Of course, maybe Mactan Airport rainfall is quite representative the rainfall that happened in that area in Talisay, about same elevation, because during that time there were much more higher rainfall observed in the mountains of Busay, which is the mountains that we saw in the background that I showed you. So here in Mactan Airport is about 183 millimeters from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. So we call it the meteorological day. 8 a.m. in the Philippines is like your zero Greenwich meridian and the GMT, Greenwich Meridian time. So that's how the meteorological sort of a convention, everyone collects data from, if it's a 24-hour rainfall from 24 hours, so it's from 8 a.m. in the Philippines. Of course, in other countries, it would be a different time, depending on when they hit the zero GMT, Greenwich Meridian time. So just some sense of the magnitude. There were three other storms that were quite big, but one in particular in 1990, we already have a 276 rainfall, 24-hour rainfall in Mactan, observed Mactan rainfall in airport. So I don't know to what extent it really affected the city, but when I think about flood disasters, it's always associated to the people in the area that gets flooded. Otherwise, nobody will notice if there is a flood. If nobody hears. It's like if nobody notices that there's a tree in a forest. If nobody hears it, so that fell, the tree that fell in the forest. Nobody heard that. Anyway, so it was the Typhoon Tino was about third highest observed rainfall if you look at the rainfall data. So that's associated to. So when we talk about hydrologic design parameters, we always think in terms of whatever is the historical data, and then given that, what's the probability that you'll see that will you will experience it again, or what's the, for a given storm, what's the probability that that will happen. So the Typhoon Tino in particular, it's associated, if you look at this historical database rainfall intensity duration frequency curve. So for a 24-hour rainfall, it's about almost between 10 to 15. 1/10 or 1/15 probabilities. So in particular, the 14-year return period is about 7.1%. So in other words, every time you have a storm, there's a big probability because it's only 7%. It's 7% compared to a 1% probability occurrence or 2%. So 7% is quite frequent in a sense, if you think about it, if there's a storm. And there is a study by Project NOAA during the time this DREAM project. They already have some simulations in the area. So this, I think 2017 or so. So if you look at, let's say the rainfall as an associated return period of 14, you are getting about 700 to 800 cubic meters per second of peak flows during that time. But remember, Tino was, if I think about it, I don't know how the rainfall was distributed over time, over 24 hours, but let's say you get a peak flow of that much. But if it's very concentrated, it happened in 1 or 2 hours, the peak flow could be even higher. So that's, but in any case, I just want to give you that idea because later on we'll see how this has something to do with the intervention or the flood control that was installed in that area. So okay, so this is the Mananga River Basin, and the Talisay city is around here. So this the watershed. So there are proposals to have a Mananga water supply reservoir. That's one of them, but that's not yet in place, and it doesn't really have a it's not designed with a flood control function, but now they're entertaining or considering that maybe we should assign some flood control function. But if you think about the drainage area is only 85 square kilometers, it's small. But then I mean, if you think about Marikina River Basin, which is close to us in Metro Manila, is about 540 in Marikina City. So this is just like about 1/7 of 1/6, 1/7 of the. But then again, the Tino rainfall was quite big, 183 millimeters in 24 hours. But on the other hand, we experienced Ondoy, which happened to be 455 in 24 hours. So the reason I just want to put some perspective as far as the rainfall, not quite big. The watershed, not quite big. But the devastation equally as big because of how we position the settlements. So that's why the disaster happened, because there were settlements in the area where you have plenty of water that went down. Now, I always like to look at land use as one of the major change factor, or maybe change factor in flood control, in flood disasters. Because well, you can think you can have a lot of rainfall, but maybe you won't really have disaster depending on if you have land cover or land use that's especially with human settlements. So as we know, land is very important when you talk about hydrology, because land is the medium of the water, right? So if the medium or the media is not quite properly designed in such a way that you don't have flooding and so on, then you can get disasters for that matter. So maybe these two was that at a high elevation, I mean, it was a very high bird's eye view. But you can see that from 2001, the timeline, 2014, 2017, you really had urbanization in the same area. Quite a lot of urbanization. So this sort of a recipe for disaster if this area is historically a flood-prone area. And this Talisa is a little bit already in the flatlands of that Busay mountain range. But I'd like to focus in particular that the picture I showed you in the beginning, that's around this area. So you'll see that in 2001, this area is no housing, no people. 2014, not quite also. And the floodplain, the river with the floodplain, it's about 100 meters wide. But then after Typhoon Haiyan, that's why I have this 2014, after Sendong in 2011, and you remember the second highest rainfall was associated to the Typhoon Sendong in the case of in Mactan. So that was the 189 millimeters, by the way. So anyway, Sendong happened in December of in Cagayan de Oro 17 of December 2011, but the rainfall in Cebu was about December 26, about 6 days after. In any case, for some reason you have this housing, especially after 2014. So maybe that happened 2018, 2019, 2020, and then about 2021 or 2020, they built this flood wall. The flood wall you see here, especially in this picture, these are the same pictures, but it's about 18 meters wide. So from 100 to 18, you can find the river. That's why you have this picture. That's what you saw. This is about 18, 20 meters wide, but then the floodplain was this part all the way to the other side. That was supposed to be 100 meters. So I'll just go through a little bit of the narrative here. So the narrative that I'm talking about is that, of course, big issue is urbanization. In any case, just to reiterate some of the what I said, showing the pictures. So in 2001, the Mananga River in Talisay around Barangay Lawaan, that's on the left-hand side of the picture, San Isidro is on the right-hand side of the picture. The river width was about 107 meters. And then, I don't know about the same size in 2014. So maybe in 2015, 2016, but unfortunately I couldn't see in the Google pictures, the historical pictures in Google map, what were the situation then. In any case, after Typhoon Sendong 2011, settlement started. And then around 2020 or so, I think, so that's kind of the tail part of this in the narrative, because I'm not so sure when flood walls were built around the area confining the Mananga River to an 18-meter wide channel as opposed to 107 wide river with the floodplain. So in other words, if you think about those 700 to 800 cubic meters of water, which is about when this was computed by the DREAM project, it was only about 2 meters high. So 2 meters associated to 800 CMS, 100 meters wide. And now you narrow it down to 18. So it's about 6 times 2. You can get as much as 10 meters high. Now, if you put a flood wall even 4 or 5 meters, it will still be over top. And that's what happened in this case, right? So anyway, apparently housing projects started 2016, 2017, since people forgot about devastations that happened during Sendong 2011 and Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. So they got also quite a lot of rainfall in the 13. So apparently, so this kind of I don't know, how the timing also is important to recreate, because and that's where we have to imagine how these things came in place. So to protect the human settlements, there was this housing. So the flood walls were constructed. But in this case, the flood walls created a sense of security to the people, maybe false or definitely false security, and encouraged them to settle on the other side of the flood walls. And I think that's always an issue with resilience. When we have this cliff in a roadside, we put a guardrail, so people now become less resilient, they become complacent. So when I say they become complacent, but actually what they do is that when they drive to the curb, they will drive faster because they see a guardrail. So maybe this is what happened. They became complacent, so less resilient for that matter. The level of resilience went down. So they started building. So again, the big issue is that if the government is aware of the flood disaster or risk, why did they issue permits, for housing development? So I guess that's kind of the story we have to pursue in terms of how should we really plan our cities so that we don't have these kinds of disasters. Now in 2017, and I just want to show this one, there was a master plan done by Woodfields and Phil Bravo. So they have already seen in this area in Mananga, you have this flood prone area. This is the one in Mananga River, and then there's Bulacau River, which is on that side, I think. Yeah, on this side. And in that master plan, they talk about, of course, these are always nice to think in terms of integrated flood management in the context of integrated watershed and then water resources management, IWRM, where you think in terms of what can you do upstream. So that was some idea, the Mananga Reservoir. And of course, you can have land use regulations. You can have this and other thing. Of course, the solid waste is always an issue. And then maybe what kind of technology you're going to implement or use. Nowadays, we have nature-based solution in addition to the hardcore engineering, or maybe a combination of them, NBS, and nature-based solution and engineering solution. But in any case, in the master plan, they propose some revetment or diking here. So if you think about it, I don't know if this was used to justify putting those flood walls, but again, there were issues. In fact, one of the engineers in Cebu was sacked lately because of some corruption issue. But if you look at the master plan, maybe there were already people there. So in 2017, around the Mananga in this area, they're looking at putting a flood wall 63 meters wide to leave 63 meters wide river. But if you see that the slide I showed you, it's only about 17 meters. So they didn't quite follow that. But in any case, even at 63, you can have depths of 6 meters high now. From the two that the Project NOAA computed in 2016-17, with the flood wall, which is confining the river up to 63 meters from 100. So that's what I was saying earlier, that now in the case of you only have about 18 meters, it could have really went up the depths about 10 meters high, something like that. So this just shows you some, quantities that the depths that they were computing if you did this and did that. Okay, so maybe during the discussion, you can ask me other things. Now, in the case of Cagayan de Oro City, and this was during Typhoon Sendong in December 17, so that happened like about, if you look at some pictures, this is quite a different story, because while in the case of the Talisay, they put the flood walls, then the water just overflowed. This one, they essentially built this housing project inside the river. And this river, this part of the river in particular, of Cagayan de Oro City, you have like sort of a sandbar, maybe. If you think about this, maybe the river every now and then, when I say every now and then, maybe every 50 years or 100 years or even 10 years, it could go straight, instead of meander. But then you have a built up here, so maybe it tries to just meander within the confines of these concrete walls, maybe, and so on. But in any case, in December of 2011, this is what happened. This area became this one. From here, before this November 2010, it became like this. It's like a mud flow all over the place. There's another area here. That's this part somewhere here. So, it's like the anatomy of a flood disaster, which is anthropogenic, it's man-made kind of thing. Right? So again, if you look at the timeline, 2004, this was nothing there. 2011, there was something there, this one. Here, nothing. They have added this and that. 2012, it's all erased, obliterated because of Typhoon Sendong. Now, this is 2024. So this became a no-build zone. Now, we had discussions with Secretary Dizon of DPWH that the area now in Talisay will no longer be a built zone. So it will be a no-built zone. And I think there are already some resolutions from the Water Resources Management Office of under DNR headed by USEC CP David. They already have some resolutions, and then they will submit it to the city of Talisay. So it will no longer be a built zone. Okay. So anyway, if you look at the Typhoon Sendong statistics, again, it's always good to look at this, what happened. So in the case of Cagayan de Oro, this 2011, you have 180 millimeters in 24 hours. Again, that's 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. But at the height of the storm, which happened about 8 p.m. in the evening of December 16, up to about 2 a.m., you have 24 plus 47, and then plus 97. I think this happened like 2 to 3 a.m. So the devastation happened while people were sleeping during time. Anyway, if you look at the history again of the Lumbia Airport rainfall, which is this was where it was taken, there were equally as big, but not quite as big as this Sendong. That happened 1999, 1985, 1998. So 98 and 99, you have this big rainfall here. This from Manila Observatory, but it's based on. So if you look at after 1998, these were, again, the tale is that, or the narrative is that people forgot that there were these big rains that happened in Cagayan de Oro City. And in fact, during the time, the Southern Hemisphere, we have a big drought. Australia had big drought between 2001 to 2009. So there was no big typhoon that went to Mindanao during that period. Anyway, again, if you look at the rainfall intensity duration frequency curve of this rainfall station, the Sendong rainfall of 179 is only associated to 10-year return period, or 1/10. It's about 10%, of course. Yeah, it happened to be a rainfall. So it's quite, again, more frequent, bigger probability of occurrence every time you have a storm. Now, in 2014, I was involved in some study, 2015, to look at, the possible mitigation, flood mitigation plans for this area. So what I wanted to show here is that the rainfall, about 179, the flow that you generate is about 6,500. 5,700, sorry. Yeah, about 6,000 cubic meters per second. But upstream of this is about 1,331 square kilometers, which emanates from the mountains of Bukidnon, Mount Kitanglad, and all the way down here. So this area here is only about 15 square kilometers, but all that water from the 1,300 square kilometers basin, which is almost 15 times bigger than the Mananga River Basin, went into this area. So that area and that loop in particular that I showed you earlier is this part. So all of this area is flooded. So the reason I'm showing this because on hindsight, we could have really done calculations even before and then run this possible scenario, rainfall futures or scenario, and could have seen right away that, oh no, that should be a no build zone, because this shows unless you have some mitigation or measures right away. But again, this simulation study was just like the Project Noah was done. Project Noah was before the Tino, but this one was done after Sendong. But this one, of course, should we have done this earlier, maybe we could have avoided building in this area. Anyway, the narrative, I just want to kind of talk about it. So during Typhoon Sendong, the housing development of Isla de Oro, so that's the name of the place where they call it Isla de Oro. In fact, the name is really an island in the Cagayan River, Cagayan de Oro River. So it was obliterated, but again, historically, it has been flooded. And then around year 2004, there was still no Isla de Oro. Between 2001 and 2009, there was drought in the southern hemisphere. So this was referred to, in fact, as the Millennium Drought in Australia. And southern Philippines in particular did not experience any typhoon. So apparently, people forgot about that big storm, as I mentioned, 1998, 1999. And allegedly, there were, after this no typhoon 2001, 2, 3, all the way to 2009, there were rumored land speculators, or even they call it politicians, that sold lands and facilitate issuance of permits to develop that Isla de Oro. I don't know, incidentally or coincidentally, or maybe it was designed. During the time, the mayor of Cagayan de Oro City was Vicente Imano. He was mayor from 1998 to 2007. And of course, after 9 years, he has to take off or take a break. 2010, 2013. And Isla de Oro, he was always talking about building a housing project for, instead of those informal settlers. And when he won again in 2010, they inaugurated and built, they have groundbreaking and built the Isla de Oro. So that's the reason why if you go back here, 6 of 2011, 2004, nothing there. 2011, after 1 year, 2010, you have plenty of housing. So that's when he came in as a mayor. And then, but maybe he started a little bit in his 9-year term before that. So right after that, it's devastated, it's gone. So of course, 2013, his term finished. He did not. He lost to Oscar Moreno, Mayor Oscar Moreno. So that's when we did the study in 2014, actually. So again, just to inject some things here, we can always do some kind of a properly doing design flood estimation, considering changing rainfall and land use. But of course, maybe we should avoid this kind of improper land use planning or maldevelopment and things like that. So I think that's my last slide, and I just kind of throw a lot of small slides here where I've been talking about transdisciplinarity, all these stakeholder consultation, governance, and resilience planning. So that's my presentation. Thank you so much.
Ayan, maraming salamat. Nako, napaka sir, nakakalungkot na nagkakaroon na yung ang ganda-ganda ng community and then suddenly para siyang nabura, no?
Yes, and it's
So,
a play between politicians maybe, or the land use, land people,
Oo nga po, sir,
and
'no? I
then
mean, baka
DPWH also had a role in there. And of
yun
course, the
po.
people,
Ay, may
yes.
mga kung may mga katanungan po ba diyan? Kung wala po kasi ako meron akong ano, ano pa ba sir, what exactly caused the flooding? Yung ba talagang pagbagyo, malakas ang ulan or may iba pa talagang parang hidden causes na parang nahihirapan talagang ma-resolve ito ng Cagayan at ng Talisay?
In the case of Talisay, that's why I keep on showing yung rainfall event. Maliit lang yung return period niya. When you talk about big extreme rainfall, it's associated to 1% probability, 1:100. 2% probability, 1:50. Ito mga 1:10, 1:14. Pero nagkaroon ng flooding because we created the whatever urban housing or urban configuration that it will have the disaster. Para bang noon tatawid ka sa Commonwealth, you're you're gonna get hit one day kasi you put yourself in that situation. Parang
Eh,
ganito nangyari dito.
oo.
I think academician Ruben
Oh,
Villarin.
yan. Yes. Hi, sir. Naku, na-miss ko
Hi,
si
kamusta
sir.
na?
Hello po.
Time no see.
Go
Kamusta
ahead po.
na? Kamusta na dada?
Mabuti po. Kayo
Okay.
po. Sige, sir. Bagong gupit si
Okay.
sir. Go
Alright.
ahead.
Glenn,
Yes.
talagang ako'y siyang-siya sa iyong presentation. Dahil alam mo yung typhoon, maraming alaala sa akin yan eh. Dahil ako ay, alam mo naman, taga Marikina ako.
Oh, okay.
Kung ilang beses mong nabanggit yung Sendong. Sabi mo ang Sendong yung highest rainfall sa kasaysayan. Ngayon,
Yes, in the
yung
case of Mindoro.
ako tanda ako nung ako'y bata, ang Marikina River, palagi nag-o-overflow yan. Kami nasa Agricultura Street, ang nangyayari sa amin ay hindi kami makababa dahil ang tubig ay hanggang first floor. Pagkatapos ng bagyo, ang lahat ng kasangkapan namin sa aming silong ay sira. So we would start again from scratch. Iyan kami, napakahirap. Patero lamang ang tatay ko. At pagdating ng Sabado at Linggo, either karpintero, barbero, name it, at yun ang ginagawa ng tatay ko. So talagang pagka dumating yung bagyo at umapa ang Marikina River na palaging umaapo noon taon. Pero ang hindi ko malilimutan ay yung talagang bagyo hanggang sa first floor namin. Kaya ang daming kasangkapang mga nasira at talagang lalo kami naghirap. Hindi na malaman kung saan kukuha ng pang sa amin para kami mabuhay ng mahusay. Well, to make the story short, anong uri ng pagka sinabi mo itong Typhoon Sendong highest rainfall, ilang cc yun? Or hindi, ilang cubic meters yun?
That's why I mention ko yung drainage basin niya. Assuming na meron kang 100 millimeters of rainfall, 0.01 meter. Pagkatapos bumagsak doon sa 100 square kilometers. So 100 square kilometers, which is going to be 100 million meters times 0.1 meter. So 10,000, 100 million, it will be 10 million cubic meters. Now,
Wow.
10 million cubic meters, that means 10 MCM.
Wow.
Kasi yung Angat Reservoir has a storage of 800 MCM. So
Wow.
Ganun lang bala yun. Ma-contain pero hindi ganun.
10
It
million.
will only go to, it doesn't spread uniformly. It will only go to yung how fast it goes to sa downstream as well as saan yung mga depressed area, saan yung mga malalim, doon siya pupunta siyempre. It will be confined to, it will not be staying in, I mean, it will not be uniform distributed yung flood unless there's a flood land. But I think it's not as simple as that kasi tumatakbo yung tubig eh.
Okay.
Hindi naman siya na stationary eh. Tatakbo siya ng tatakbo. Kaya it will stay in one place, depressed area with these depths, but so much period of time, yung residence time niya is something to do with that. So it's it's a very dynamic. But in any case, so anong point? If you have any question about that.
Well, okay. Balik tayo dun sa Marikina River. Ang gusto kong itanong sa iyo mga ilang cubic meter kaya yung ang Marikina River ang umaabot ng kabayanan ng
Marikina.
yung talagang bahang-bahay. Ilang cubic meter kaya yun?
Like yung Sendong, if you wanted to look at Sendong,
10 million.
mga 4,500 cubic meters per second yung dumaan doon. Pero tumakbo pala siya. Now the question is, if a given river, ito yung width niya, ito yung depth niya, pagkatapos yung velocity niya is let's say 2 meters per second or 3 meters per second, mabilis bala yun, it will only create so much depth. Now, kung kinonfine mo yung river, pwedeng umapa doon or kung merong area na mababa and then nakalabas doon yung tubig, babahin yung area na yan. Gaganon lang yan. It's really like you have to compute. It's depende kasi it's iba-ibang lugar, especially in Space Valley, iba-ibang lugar, iba-iba yung tatakbuhan ng tubig at saka iba-iba yung residence time nito.
Okay, finally, again, balik tayo sa Marikina River. Ano ang nangyari at nung dati-rati ang tagal bago dumali yung tubig, ngayon overnight lamang tapos na yung Tumana, hindi ba yung Tumana, palaging na-picture yun. Ang bahay namin ay about 500 meters from Tumana. Kaya feel na feel ko yung lumaki kong talagang ramdam eh. So ano ang nangyari? At ang sabi ng aking mga kamag-anak, yung lahi namin, ang bilis daw ang tubig ay mawala. Halos overnight lang daw yung mga Tumana tuwan-tuwa na. Ano nangyari?
If you think about Typhoon Ondoy in 2009, wala pa talaga tayong na-experience na Typhoon Ondoy rain very intense in a matter of 3 hours, 4 hours.
I see.
In 6 hours, dumating ang umulan ng 355 millimeters. Since then, wala pa tayong ganun kataas in that area. Pero yung kasing Karina, meron mga ganun kalakas na mga ulan, short duration, I mean, in a matter of a few hours, ang daming ulan, kaya lang it didn't happen in the Sierra Madre part, which is catchment of Marikina Basin. Kaya iba rin yun, kasi when you look at rainfall, syempre iba yung distribution niya. Pwedeng mas maraming ulan dito, as opposed to that, mga ganon.
Hi, sir.
Again,
Academician Ruben.
Finally, Glenn, maraming salamat. I am very proud of you. I hope all academics
Thank you very much.
Very proud of you.
It's always nice.
I hope we will have
to see you.
More like you in the future. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you. Kadruben, alam ko po sagot. Bakit nawawala agad ang tubig sa... Magkapit-bahay pala tayo.
Taga saan ka
Remember
ba?
yung... San Mateo po.
Ay, San
Remember
Mateo
po
ka pala.
yung... pero
Oo.
po dun sa sa Monterey Hills. Kaya po hindi na mabilis na bumaba yung tubig. Remember po yung naghukay sila doon sa may bayan, sa may palengke. Nilagyan po talaga nila ng napakalalaking kasya daw isang jeep na daanan ng tubig. Yun po.
Okay. Akala ko nagkaroon ng yung talagang mahusay na drainage from
Ayun
Marikina
yun po,
to Pasig.
yun po ang ginawa nila. Hindi ko lang po alam kung saan nila pinapapunta yung tubig. Pero naglagay po sila ng napakalaki mga drainage. Daanan ng tubig. Thank you, sir. Anyway, meron
may
po
your
tayo.
driving, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Meron po tayo, sir, dito, Sir Glenn. Anonymous attendee, question. Hi, Dr. Tabios. Good day. I'm from Cagayan de Oro. I would like to ask if the master development plan you prepared has already been adopted and implemented by LGU CDO and DPWH. If so, to what extent has it been applied? Or do you think the plan needs to be revisited and updated? At present, CDO is still experiencing flooding, not only in the Makasandig area but also in other expanding urban areas. I would really appreciate your insights on this. Hope there are LGU, CDO, and DPWH attending now. Thank you.
Yeah, the master plan or the we call that a CDOR, Cagayan de Oro City River. Cagayan de Oro River flood risk mitigation plan or something like that. It was really more, we were concerned about river flooding. That means we want to confine any big flow that gets into the river coming from Bukidnon or Mount Kitanglad all the way to Misamis Oriental area in Cagayan de Oro City, ma-confine siya. So, as far as the alignment of those yung area, yung flood walls or barriers, and then they also build a road. I would say they followed that. So that's one. Number two, we suggested yung detention ponds, which are essentially those area in Isla de Oro and a little bit upstream of that. Hindi na ba, no build zone na yun. So they act as a detention pond. Pero yung flooding, as mentioned, Makasandig, merong mga local drainage, which is what you call local flooding. You have plenty of rain in the area, in the city, but it doesn't go to the river para to evacuate all the way to the sea. I'm not clear ano nang ginawa doon. But definitely, sometime 2019, after our study 2014, 15, they built a road. If you look at the area in Cagayan de Oro, they built a road. Maybe I can share quickly what I'm talking about. They built this Lapasan Road, which is in front of somewhere here. Yan, makita mo merong alignment dyan, merong road dyan. Here you have SM, Centrio, you have Gaisano, and so on. They built a road they finished, I think, 2018, 2019, higher than this area, such that before this area, Limkitkai, used to be part of the swampland ng Makahalar Bay. So during high tide, umabot yung tubig dito. But since they already built up area na to, and then they built that road. So yung tubig galing sa Makasandig, lalo hindi na makalabas doon, much more hindi makatakbo doon sa river. And then lately, about 4 years ago, I think, they built a big drainage, subsurface drainage dito that was open somewhere in yung Agora. So because they built this road higher, which is the practice, hindi makalabas, nagkaroon ng parang barrier to get it to the bay. And then they build so I don't know but that's what I call a local flooding na issue, which is you have plenty of rain, hindi makapunta sa sea or hindi makapunta sa river that will channel it to the sea. So that's the situation. But in any case, the master plan we did, the alignment of those flood infrastructure for river flooding na nagawa bale ng DPWH.
Okay. Sir Ike, thank you po, sir. Sir Ike, bago po kayo tawagin, meron po kasi mga nagtatanong dun sa Q&A. Actually, hindi siya tanong. Kasi po, for this afternoon, para mabigyan sila ng certificate, they need to send an email to Future Earth at the same time, picturean nila yung pangalan nila. But, hindi nila nakikita yung mukha nila sa gallery dahil attendees lang sila at hindi sila panelist, no? Pwede po bang lahat po ng mga ating attendees ang gagawin nyo po, i-click nyo po yung participants, pakiclick nyo po yan, tapos pindutin nyo po yung attendees, kasi nandyan po yung mga pangalan nyo, yun na lang po yung screenshot nyo, nandun yung pangalan nyo, naka sa ibabaw po ng gallery. Yun po yung i-attach nyo doon sa inyong email to be able to receive a certificate po. Marami pong salamat. Okay, let's move on sa susunod na question. Sir Ike, go ahead.
Doc Glenn,
Hello, hi. Yeah.
paano po nasimulan yung dialogue with Sec Dison? Sino nag-trigger nun? Kayo ba nag-invite?
Yung I'm sorry about what?
Yung dialogue with Vince Dison?
We had I have been doing work with him. In fact, yesterday we had a big meeting. We went through some the areas that we wanted to prioritize, and then it's on television. I think some of those we have. I was with Dr. Mar Lagmay and then Dr. CP David, but we look at Metro Manila as priority area, Bulacan, Cebu, Bicol, and Bicol, yung apat na yan. But we have been, I've been continuously talking to them because first we want to develop a policy, sort of I would say a policy on how to do flood planning, flood risk management, and planning of mitigation measures. So that's kind of on the making, because in 2 weeks' time it should be presented to Congress a budget during the budgeting period.
Mabuti naman, he is working with you.
Yes, I think so.
Matalino naman yung DPW.
Yeah, in fact, Secretary Babe Singson was also there yesterday. So, but before that, I've been the last 2 months since he announced one time we had a big meeting, and he said the technical working group includes Dr. Mahar, CP, Dr. CP, Yusik CP, and then me, and then some other people. So
That's good.
I've been doing almost every 2 weeks or every week doing work with them.
That's good news for all of us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Sir Ike. Marami pong salamat. We have another question from the Q&A box. How about the upstream areas in Bukidnon Park daw, sir? Ano daw po ang ginawa ng Bukidnon, LGU Bukidnon, which I know is a pineapple and banana plantations. Nandun daw yung ano daw actions or contributions sa master plan.
Well, when we did the master plan, of course, the upstream part, which is not quite in the of Cagayan de Oro River, it's really on the eastern slope ng western slope ng Mount Kitanglad Mountains, yung mountain ranges. So while there are efforts by the Cagayan de Oro Management River Council, as far as of course from the point of view of integrated water resource management, maybe you can do some control upstream. But it's not quite, it's so difficult to control. You can always have mga reforestation efforts and so on. But to me, the flooding in Cagayan de Oro city is, of course, the urbanization, the way they configure from local to river flooding, the city itself, how it is built. Again, it's in a swampland. I was a high school student sa Ateneo de Cagayan. Sa likod ng yung building where my lola lives, doon kami nakatira. Pag high tide, umaabot doon. That's the Limkit Kay area.
Kalimkit.
Umabot doon yung tidal excursion. Can you imagine? They built this one. So definitely there are some issues. But in any case, I don't know if it's Bukidnon's responsibility, the province of Bukidnon, but it should be coordinated Bukidnon as well as yung Cagayan de Oro River Management Council, something like that. It's headed by, at one time, si Hilian Kiyot, I forget how to pronounce her name. But in any case, but as far as integrated water resources management, which is in the context of IFM, yung integrated flood management, kasama dapat yung IWRM. Definitely, there can be some, there should be a component of flood control, or not really control, but maybe control of excess water, undesirable water, from upstream all the way downstream.
Okay. So, meron pa pong isang tanong dito from Anonymous Attendee. Again, thank you po sa talk nyo. Ask ko lang po, ano ang civic duty ng tao para maging vigilant? Hindi i-tolerate ang flood risks, especially sa mga nakatira sa low-lying areas, o kaya duty ng mamamayan para mabawasan ang flood risks sa area?
Yeah, it's a little bit a complex play of mga actors. If you think about how we do things in the Philippines, that's why when you go back to IWRM, you have those three pillars: yung legal instruments, meron kang management instruments, and then institutional role. Now sa legal instruments, I think we have lots of laws already covering this and that. So it's like the stick thing. Kung meron kang ginawa na mali, you will be penalized.
May
Violation. But the problem is that a lot of times we don't know kung ano yung mali na ginawa natin. It's like not knowing the unknown. There is some such thing as you know the known, you know the unknowns, but this one, you don't even know what are the unknowns. So there's a very deep uncertainty to the extent. So if we were to think about yung legal instruments, okay, na it's already in there. But how do you really know na mali pala yung ginagawa mo? So that's one. But the management instrument, you have monitoring, you have modeling, you have assessment studies, and so on. I think that's also lacking. In our case, do we really do proper assessment studies? When we do this, when we do that, do we go back to our models and say, itagbo mo nga yan kung tama ba yan? Ano ko sa institutional role na people should be vigilant, they should be part of the whole process, the whole government, civil society effort to check against each other. Because like, I don't know if the government is doing properly their job. So maybe the civil society should, ask for this transparency, and then make sure that whoever make mistake accountable, like yung mga na-corrupt lang pala na pera. But I don't know, it's a complex dynamics. Maybe si Dr.
Yung pera
Joy
pinambili
Romero.
ng payong, sir, yung pinambili ng payong, may kasamang kotse.
Oh, all of these are kind of, it becomes a complex dynamics of sa authority or sa corruption ba, or yung human
So parang at least may penalty, sir. Kung ano, tawag
Yeah,
dito. Dapat may
yeah.
penalty pero dapat talagang na-enforce din, no? Kung ano man
Oh,
yung
yung
ano.
someone has to like for example when you talk about yung I don't know why they were permitted to live in that floodplain or the river part of Cagayan de Oro City. Hindi ba nila alam
Doon
yun?
sa loob pa
O
mismo ng
sa
river, 'di ba, sir? Oh. Ayun. Saan ba, sir, 'di ba? Tinanggal sila doon. So saan sila ni-relocate? Sana naman doon sa wala ng flood.
Yeah, I think they will move a little bit on the upper
Higher.
part. Merong lugar doon na medyo mataas.
Mataas tapos hindi sila binabahaw
Hindi
pero
na sila binlik
ay,
doon. I mean,
ah,
I'll give you a good
sana.
example. In the case of, there was I always give that example because I heard a Japanese professor, Koniusho Takeuchi, about the comparison of the Leyte
Mhm.
build-up as well as the Fukushima. In our case, the rule is that you can build back 40 meters away from the sea.
40
Fukushima,
meters.
after the tsunami Fukushima,
Tsunami.
built 40 meters elevation. Can be very
Okay.
near the sea pero 40 meters
Or
above the sea.
elevated siya.
Elevated siya. So next tsunami, sure, hindi na mabaha yung nasa 40 meters. But in the case of Leyte, kung pareho yung level, darating uli yung tsunami doon.
Mm.
Or in our case, it's a storm surge actually, not quite a tsunami, but similar yung devastation. So there are rules of that we should do. Hindi pwede yung ganon. To me, it is a very blatant na strategy. Oh, you live 40 meters away. That's why they built Robinson Mall again doon sa
Mall.
Palo.
Very
Same level
location.
pa noon. And then just a few meters, a few blocks away from that, nandun yung ship or yung barko na permanent
Natangay. Yung ano,
natangay na
natangay.
naging parang museum
Opo. Ano na siya tourist attraction na yan,
tourist
sir.
attraction. Nandoon pa rin. Pero the same level. Anyway.
Anyway, so yung kailangan talaga din yung robust na enforcement sir nung kung ano man yung parusa.
Uninformative. You have to know. Yun nga, the worst case will be we don't know what are the unknowns. That's the worst na
How
mangyayari.
would you know? Ayan.
Oh,
So, kumusta daw po sir yung island San June in front of the river?
San June.
San. Nakalagay San June.
In Cagayan de Oro.
Isla de Oro.
Isla de
Ah,
Oro.
Isla de Oro. So it acts like it will just act like a detention pond or offshore or off the river na detention area. So pag mataas yung tubig, pwedeng tumakbo doon. Walang babain.
Mm.
Because it can serve like, the thing with detention ponds sometimes is the ability to decelerate yung tubig. Yung speed niya mas mabagal. So medyo meron siyang impoundment ability to attenuate yung cascading o yung mabilis na pagdating ng tubig at a given location. So kasi it's very rough siya, di ba? Medyo rough siya as opposed to the river na bed. Kasi meron mga vegetation yan. There will be vegetation every time. Hindi walang ulan. Meron mga tutubo-tubo doon. So medyo rough yung area na. So that's why they always make parang synonymous, but actually there are two functions. Detention pond and retarding basin. You retard the flow, and at the same time, because of the retardation of flow, you also detain. But people always use that interchangeably, di ba? Retarding basin or retention basin.
So, science-based solution ba yan, sir?
It's a nature-based
Nature-based.
approach where you really leave room to the river.
Okay.
So you let the river enjoy its yung waters na
Water.
pinapadaan niya.
Yes.
Rather than patakbuhin mo siya agad, you're going downstream. Where Kung ayaw niya, itatapon niya on the side if you don't give room to the river.
See. Meron pa po ba tayong mga ibang katanungan dyan?
Isa
At
pa.
baka yung atin po, ayan sir, sige sir.
I'm sorry ha. Hindi ako
It's okay.
makatiis.
Hindi ka
Ah,
makatiis.
Partner, bakit kaya pinayagan pang yung tumana doon sa Marikina? Bakit pinayagan pa sila doon?
Yun
In-encourage pa.
yung tumana.
Oo.
What do
Bakit
you
sila?
mean?
Bakit po
Hindi.
in-encourage pa
Tingnan
daw
mo,
po
hindi
yung
ba yung
mga taong
tumana
tumira sa
naging...
Tumana, near
Oo.
the Tumana, dun sa may yung Tumana sir sa Marikina po, yun talaga ay katabi ng river. Ayan, Sir Doy, baka gusto mo baka may isi-share si Sir Doy
Yeah.
about Tumana.
Quickly lang about the Tumana area. And I'm going to show this slide just to give you more concrete because this is an observation that I have in the case of Tumana. So this is in Marikina River.
Okay, yeah.
This is that yung Tumana na bridge that crosses from, ito yung Tumana. If you can see,
Oh, yeah.
so
Ayun
this is the La Vista Loyola Gran Villa.
Okay.
Diba? So, ang nangyari ngayon, 2007, itong area na to binayan. If you look at this area, binayan. But this is a 2007 picture. Walang mga housing dito. So in 2010, that was 4 months after Undoy, or 6 months after Undoy, 2010 to, April, yung Marikina River dumiretso. Doon,
Oo.
hindi ba nakita mo, dumiretso. 2019, naumpisan, meron ng subdivision dito, which is that part of the river. So one of these days, itong river na didiretso papunta dyan sa housing na project nito. So you can see the river alignment, di ba, pag ganon.
Oo, yeah.
So ngayon, ang ginawa nila, ito yung tumalon dito noon, which is that one, nilagyan nila ng flood wall. Pero if you go there, you can see this is a massive flood wall dito. Ito wala pang flood wall. Merong mga kahoy-kahoyan dyan. Walang flood wall. But if there's going to be another Ondoy, definitely the river will find its way, ang bilis-bilis na tubig by its own mighty energy.
Mhm.
Diretso yan dyan. Bahayin yan. So, why create a development dito when you know it full well, pwedeng tumiretso yan dyan if you look at the 2010 na kwan. So, these are mga follies, maybe, I don't know, whatever you call it. Is it lack of knowledge or is just risk-taking? It's like crossing Commonwealth on a busy day. Commonwealth, tatakbo ka
Ayun,
doon.
ano yun, parang di ba sa Commonwealth sa, ang laki-laki,
Huwag
wag
kang
tumawid,
magpakatay.
makamamatay. So, ganun
Ganun.
din yun,
Mm.
sir.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. So, these are cases like,
Alin ang tumana dyan, partner?
ito yung
Tumana
Tumana.
settlement.
Ito.
Ah,
On the other side of on the right-hand side of the picture.
I see.
Yeah. So, of course, the Tumana, they also put a flood wall here. Massive flood walls na to dito. But the problem in Tumana, yung Tumana is a low-lying area. Kaya
Exactly.
yung kung meron kang local flooding, yung sinasabi ko, ang daing ulan dito, ang hirap ilabas yung tubig dyan because mas mababa siya sa river, especially kung the river is higher than here. So supposedly, you put pumping stations. Pero wala namang pumping stations dyan as of now.
Mm.
That would be an expensive approach, you know. So
Yeah.
these are things that
Sabi ko, bakit kaya pinayagan pa doon? Alam namang yun binabaha.
yeah.
Ay,
So,
parang okay, pero nadadali pa rin eh.
that's I think I guess I would say the unknowing the unknowns. Not knowing the unknowns. Yung parang bang, okay, let's do it. Or is really defying the possible disaster, possible risk-taking, so to speak. I think as it could be overtaken or it could be marred with other mga agenda.
Talaga po. Thank you,
Diba?
thank you.
Okay, marami pong salamat. Na kung tungkol po dun sa mga certificate na hindi nyo po pala nakikita yung settings na sinasabi ko, mag-email na lang po kayo doon sa email address na nilagay ko dyan sa chat box at sabihin nyo po na present kayo sa araw na ito. Ako na pong bahalang magsabi sa ating tawag dito sa ating program
Authorities.
officer ako na pong magsasabi sa authorities, present kayo. Ayan po. So, ang gagawin ko na lang po, ako na lang po ang mag-i-screenshot nito para sa inyo, yung buo. Ayan. Para po meron tayong proof na kayo ay nandito. Ayan, i-screenshot ko na po. Ayan. Para po sa inyo. Ayan. Wait lang po. Sige. Sir Doy, baka meron ka pong gustong idagdag tungkol sa tumana. Alam na mo ang tumana.
Well, Glenn,
Yeah.
ito yung situation. Tuwan-tuwa yung mga tao sa Tumana kasi in the administration of ex-mayor Marcy, binigyan na sila ng mga titulo nila. So, hindi mo na mapapalis yan ngayon. Pero tuwan-tuwa sila. Di ba?
Binigay na sa kanila, sir.
Oo, natituluhan na sa kanila. So, kunyan tamis anghang di ba? Tamis anghang. Pero ang tanong ko, Glenn, is it possible to, now that we have mapped out all these historical flooded areas throughout the country, is it possible to say, using my cell phone, titignan ko yung coordinates ko, di ba? Yung geographic coordinates ko. And somebody will tell me my flooding risk. And medyo takutin mo ng konti, your chances of dying within the next 5 years will be like this, and things like that. Parang actionable information for people. Basta ibigay nila yung coordinates nila and the app will tell them whether they are in a floodplain, ano yung risk nila based on historical conditions, para yung unknown, known na sa kanila. Di ba?
Yeah. Yeah. You can do that actually if we have Project Noah has done a lot of these studies, or Dream Project is always Dream was doing a lot of the Project Noah job in 2017, 18, 19, and so on. And some of them were done by mga local state universities, but supervised by Project Noah or Dream Project. A lot of those simulations they did, and I've seen them, it's as if wala kang mga obstructions, walang mga buildings, walang ganon. So, kung you just look at the topography, yung elevation dito and so on, without the obstructions, without the drainage, makikita mo yung mga Project Noah na picture, the entire city becomes flooded. So, I don't know to what extent they will be useful and people will be convinced na binabaha tong area to sa pinapakita nyo, pero hindi naman kami binabaha dito. Because, like I'll show you, this is a picture I'm going to show you, di ba? Kaya, what you display is something like this. Oh, yan, no? So, binaha lahat yung area na yan. This is a 5-year return period flood. Ito yun, bale. So, it's not detailed enough. And then once you impose yung mga structures, iba na naman yung flooding situation. So if you wanted to have like information like that, you have to maybe combine yung model na mga results together with satellite remotely sensed mga pictures. And all of this, in fact, when you look at flood forecasting models, like in Korea, I've seen they have this AI-based na mga flood forecasting. But the AI-based flood forecast, which are based on this neural network, it's a black box inputs, and then you have so much output, they will display all this. They were trained using flood inundation mathematical models with some data, observed data, and then real time later on. So they fit. So then makikita mo na ganon. Now, the problem with that, of course, kung AI, whatever was the observed or historically computed, it will be recreated by your AI as an output. Pero ngayon kung nagbago yung land use mo, bago yung housing mo, di iba naman yung flood dynamics or situation. So how do you update that? So then you run again your models with those structures. Project NOAA has done a lot of this, pero not really putting the buildings and so on. Putting a subsurface drain, which is much more complicated na mga calculations or modeling simulation studies. But you can help AI. You can use some AI, feed it, and then the AI could somehow come up with some output. Na okay, it looks very realistic. But you have to be careful lang na baka yung sinasabi hallucination na you fed something na hindi niya na-experience. Siyempre, hindi niya basta may ilabas. Pero maybe by its neural kind of a network, a brain, artificial intelligence, or maybe it will come up with some reasonable. Kaya yung nakikita nila these days, meron mga AI na nagsalita, yung kamay mga hindi tama.
Limang kamay. But at least merong approximation para hindi totally unknown.
Correct.
There will be a margin of error, but at least that's much better than yung gaya niyan, bebentahan ka ng lupa, yun pala, it's a delta or it's an island in a river. Di ba?
But of course, the Google map can already give you a very good information. Maybe tingnan mo sa Google map, kasi maganda na naman yung mapa doon. Pero you wouldn't know kung depressed ba yung land na yun. I mean, when I say low-lying ba yun, hindi. Pero you really have to compute based on, because the dynamics of flood will change according to ano yung position ng mga bahay, yung mga daan, mga gaano kataas yung daan, and all these things. It's that kind of
hindi ba pwedeng pagka-elect ng isang barangay captain na bibigay siya ng briefing on the flood risk for his constituents in his area, di ba?
If you'll be amazed, I don't know how big is Korea, for example. Korea and water resources, it's what is that like? Ano yan? Yung ano yan, yung I don't know how big is the area, but like for example, in the Philippines, the contiguous, if you look at the islands and including the maritime areas, it's about 250 square kilometers. Correct? Korea is about 100,000 square kilometers. Philippines 250,000 square kilometers. But of course, we have a lot of coastlines and so on. But Korea is more contiguous for 100,000. The people doing their water resources, K-Water, they are about 6,300 employees. I think I mentioned to you one time. The Philippines doing water, you go to NWRB, maybe 120. You go to WRMO, Q6CP, maybe medyo mga 25. Si DPWH,
Yeah.
yung BOD, Bureau of Design, and then maybe BRS, maybe you have a good 40 people. So you're talking about 200 people against 6,000. 200 is to
Dapat
200,000.
12,000. Dapat 12,000. Di ba?
So you can just imagine how
Yeah.
could we do things if and these are very highly technical people. I was there first week of December. I was in K Water doon sa Dijon. Wow, ang dami lang pinakita na ang dami lang ginagawa. So that's what it takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And Vietnam is even same. I was in Vietnam last October. I think there were about, that's the, I forgot now, National Water something investigation, 2,000 people.
Mm.
Ganun kadami. It takes that. Now, Project Noah was almost 300 million ba yan with Dream Project. 200 people. You need 10 times as big if you're talking about the entire country and doing the same thing.
Yeah. Malabnaw tayo, malabnaw.
Yan. Ako. 5:05 na. Ayun, may nakataas
Si-
pa. Sige, pagbigyan
I think
natin
si
si
Al.
Sir. Sige po,
Who is
Sir.
funding member, Al.
Sige po, go ahead, Sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Glenn, for the very informative summary. Quick question lang, because you discussed about Korea, K-Water, and there's already been discussions nga about Department of Water being formed. I mean, I spoke to CP David late back. Glad that you guys are all together. What's the likelihood of that happening anytime soon? May usapan na ba?
It's difficult to predict because after maybe 10 years in the making, December of 2023, it passed Congress,
Yes.
third and final reading.
Correct.
Then you have this Senate failed impeachment kay BP Sara. Ngayon, they have been doing work with that sa Congress. It's still not second reading tapos na, third reading. I don't know. And then it will go to Senate. By that time, baka iba na naman yung events. But Secretary Vince Dizon is quite convinced that we have to create an agency that will do all of this for the line agency like the PWH to do to implement the plans.
Yeah, kasi
it takes
it would be good to know where it's situated now. If it's kasi if you're going to appeal to the Senate and of course with
sa Congress muna bago sa inyo.
tapos na yung third reading yan dati pero bumalik
Oo,
ulit.
hindi na take up
Nawalan yung momentum.
another Congress, wala na.
Yep.
From 19 to 20th, yeah.
Sige, I'll just keep it in mind because that's
Yeah,
one of the discussions that we have for hopefully the next candidates moving forward. But definitely, this again, the use of science to be part of policy making. But thank you for the information. Good luck.
Kamusta ka na?
Thank you po, Sir. Sir Ike, nakataas po ba yung kamay nyo?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sir.
Okay.
Sige, 5:07 na po. So,
Bilis lang.
Sige po, bilis lang po.
Doc Len, Doc Doy.
Yes.
Hindi ba pwedeng gawing mandatory yung disclosure ng mga developer pag nagbebenta ng lupa? Data-based, science-based disclosure required by law.
Again, I would say na ang problema ata doon yung unknowing the unknown. Not knowing
How
the
would
unknown.
you know?
Kasi ang hirap I mean, if I were to really identify an area, binabaha ba to? Yes, binaba, pero maybe anecdotal lang. Parang binabayan noon. Pero dito na point, parang hindi. If you go to subdivision now, there are areas na hindi talaga bayan, pero merong low-lying area ng subdivision na yan. So, you can always make a disclosure, which is good. In fact, I guess in the US, if you buy properties and dying, even yung wall mo, kung inisprayan mo ba ganito na paint, or meron bang asbestos yan, kailan mo pinalitan, all of this will be disclosed as a home buyer, di ba? Si Al, I think, is familiar with that. So, it's something else kung even yung earthquake prone area or not prone, but rather nandun malapit sa fault, will they be obligated to make a disclosure? But even maybe yung home association or yung developer will not really know ano bang implication or nandito yung fault line. If ever what's the risk of that? Ano ba yung ground shaking o nandito kung not supposed to that? If that's an alluvial deposit, very risky ang baka mag-liquefy. But if you are in this Guadalupe Tooth, yung mga adobe, maybe they don't care kasi hindi naman basta gagalaw yan pag dito sa Quezon City, hindi basta kung yung adobe, di ba? So what will be the parameters when you do disclosure? But again, problema nga how to define those. It's a nice story kung how to know that they are those.
How to know the unknown.
I always like that, to know the knowns, to know the unknowns, and
unknown.
to not know the unknowns. Yun ang problema.
Brad
Twister
Segundo,
yan, sir,
long time no see. How are you?
Sino po?
Si Brad Segundo.
Brad.
Segundo.
Matagal na tayo hindi nakikita.
Yes, we're very good. Still active.
See you again.
Yes.
Ayan, nako, ang dami nating napag-usapan pagdating sa kabahaan, parang interesado lahat ng tao, no, Sir Glenn. So, marami pong salamat, maraming salamat sa ating mga panelists. Maraming salamat din sa ating mga attendees. Ina-assure ko po sa inyo, makakatanggap kayo ng certificates. Ako na po yung nagpicture sa mga pangalan nyo at ipinadala ko na po sa secretariat. Ipapadala na lang din po sa inyo yung inyong mga certificates. Marami pong salamat sa ating lahat. Wala na po tayong video kasi kanina yung ating secretariat ay pumasok na sa kanyang paaralan at tayo po ang naiwan ditong taong bahay. So marami pong salamat and see you again on Friday, 3:30 to 5 ang atin pong The Filipino SDG Action Hour. Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Sir Doy
Salamat.
and Sir Doy. Sir
Okay,
Doy.
bye. Salamat.
Sige,
Sir
Doy.
Okay ba? Sir Doy. Hindi, wala na. Sir Doy.
Nandiyan
Yes.
pa si
Pakitingin po yung in-email ko, yung program for January 28.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Sir Glenn. See you na
bye-bye.
lang po doon,
Thank you very
Sir
much
Glenn.
for
Sir
hosting.
Glenn, diretso ka na po sa sa Kapitolyo ng Pasig.
Basta
Ng Pasig ng Pampanga. Kapitolyo ng Pampanga.
yeah. We'll
Okay po.
coordinate it.
Sige po.
schedule.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir.
Bye.
Salamat
Bye.
po sa lahat. Maraming
Okay.
salamat. Thank you. Bye-bye, Akad, Ruben, Henry. Bye-bye po.